Today we're going to talk about using greens and other cold crops to sort of be a ground cover for your garden. So for instance, you're getting ready to put in your summer garden. It's maybe a month or two out before the frost is no longer a big threat. But you know what? You want it to till your garden a little bit early so you can sort of expose some of the weed seeds and bug eggs and stuff like that, and sort of till them up, expose them, let the frost kill some of that stuff off. And now your garden is bare, right? It's bare, and one of the things that we know is Mother Nature does not like to be bare. She likes to be covered. And so what's going to happen is weeds are going to start growing, various things like that are going to happen. So we want to beat it to the punch and plant some things that we actually want. So we're going to add things like collards and kale, all sorts of things of that nature into the garden. And you know, they're beneficial because we can eat them. They're beneficial because they're going to create natural competition for the weeds. As you can see, my garden is currently bare. You can see a little bit of a mud hole there. I'll explain that to you in a minute. But what I do is I put the flirt in the garden. And if you're not a subscriber, you're probably like, well, what is a flirt? So here's my flirt. And why it's a flirt? It's a flock and it's a herd. There's Maggie the Cooney. We've got various assortment of chickens. We've got 4 silver Appleyard ducks, and right there is Putt. She is a bronze Orlop, and this Thanksgiving she was the one who got the reprieve. Now during the winter, while I was waiting for this pasture to recover a little bit back here behind me, see where it's a little bit sparse in some places, clumpy in others, I said, you know what, let's move the flirt into the garden, because what they're going to do is they're going to fertilize. The pig is going to plow and the chickens are going to till. And it was really fun watching them work. They would just dig and dig and dig, or the pig would dig and the chickens would come behind them. And I don't know what she was turning up, but she was turning something up that they liked, you know, and they would scratch and they'd peck and they'd whatever it was she was turning up, they were eating right behind her. And so I don't know whether it was plant material, I don't know whether it was microscopic organisms, I don't know whether it was larvae or eggs, but all I know is in the past when I have overwintered my chickens in the garden, I have a lot less squash beetles come summertime. And so they've done a good job clearing this area for me. There was all kinds of last year's garden debris, plants, sticks, you name it, it was in there. There was big humps and piles of compost, which they were very willing to root and scratch through and spread out throughout my garden. So here's what we're gonna do today. All those seeds you saw in the very intro there, we're gonna broadcast seed them and then spread some weed-free mulch across there. Now, growing up the way my grandfather would broadcast seed his spinach patch or his collard patch or whatever greens he was planting that year, he'd take a bucket, fill it halfway full with some 10-10-10 pelletized fertilizer. He'd dump his green seeds in there, mix it all up, and then just grab handfuls of it and chunk it. Well, I don't need 10-10 fertilizer. I've got the flirt, and they did a great job of fertilizing it. We kept giving organic matter in there, leaves, straw, wood chips, all this sort of stuff. They were pooping all over the place. So my garden is fully fertilized. I don't need to fertilize. So how we're going to broadcast seed is got my little AgriFab broadcaster here. I'm gonna try first just putting some seeds in it alone. If it turns out I need some more context to sling it with, I will add some sand to the mix and sling it with that. But I think on the lowest setting, I think I'm good to go just broadcast seeding directly. All right, so we're gonna broadcast these seeds in a minute here. But I asked the kids, come out here and tell us about which ones their favorites are. It's funny, both kids picked the Baker's Creek brand seeds. Elijah, show them yours. So get it good and close. It's a 1,000 head kale. According to the photo, these things have some massive leaves on them. this is our first year gonna plant these direct seeding early enough to see anything happen with them. Which ones did you pick, Abigail? So she picked these collards, these Vates ones. We love collards. I love how they're just a nice broad leaf. When it comes harvest time, they're easy to pick and easy to clean. And so those two we're not actually going to broadcast. We're going to go ahead and just sort of plant them in a row, since those ones are specialty ones. But other than that, we've got a bag of mustard greens, got a bag of spinach, Bloomsdale long-standing ones. Got some early Siberian improved non-GMO curly kale. And then we've got a little bit of rhubarb Swiss chard there. All right, let's get the spread then. So we've already broadcast seeded the seed, and you may have noticed that it wasn't the most precise thing in the world, right? And it doesn't need to be precise for what we're doing, because once again, we're doing ground cover with something that we can eat as well. You know, some of the kale may have overlapped with some of the mustard greens, with some of the spinach. But can I tell you, when it grows, you can tell the difference between them. So if you're only picking for one, you'll know which ones to pick for. Later, when that stuff grows up, I will probably till some of it and leave some of it. And what I mean by that is, if I'm planting a row of squash or beans or tomatoes or something, until those beans or squash or tomatoes need all the soil, I'm going to let the greens stay in between and harvest them and pick them until they get to the point where they're no good, and then I'll just feed them to the pig. But so we sort of broadcast it as really indirect, except for we planted 4 rows over here of the collards and 4 rows of that giant 1,000-head kale that Elijah likes so much. But for the rest of this whole area right here, we would broadcast it all over. We're going to take a bale of this Easy Straw and spread it out. The reason why we're using the Easy Straw instead of just like a regular real bale of straw from a farm is because, you know, the farmer, when he bales it, he bales everything in there: weed seed, clover seed, everything. The Easy Straw, according to its label, is 99% weed free. So we don't, after we have had our chickens in here scratching, our pig in here rooting, we've put down the seed we want, we don't want to introduce a bunch of seed we don't want. So this one is 99% weed free, so we're just going to use this as some top cover over the seeds that we broadcasted. All right, kids, we're going to rip into this and start broadcasting it all over, all right? I'm going to put it right here. Well, there it is, all spread out. A rain is coming. As you can tell, it's kind of overcast today. That'll help tack some of this down. It'll help some of the seed get in the ground. As the ground cools and heats over these next few weeks, as it's still sort of frost season for us, that'll actually help draw some of the broadcasted seed down into the soil. And man, in a few weeks, we're going to have little green sprouts all over this place with collards and kale and mustard and spinach. And like I said, it'll provide food for us. It will also provide ground cover in the meantime. Until next time, God bless you.
And go take your mountain.